Hey, and welcome to I Am Just Game, the podcast where two best friends spill the tea, share the laughs, and celebrate all things queer life, love, and joy. I'm Hernando del Castillo, coming from sunny Miami, Florida.
And I'm Rahshek Darnell, holding it down in Washington, D.C. We've been besties for over 20 years, and we're here to share our stories, your stories, and everything in between.
So grab your headphones, pour out your drink, and settle in for a good laugh because we're just gay, and so are you.
Hello, and welcome to I Am Just Gaying, episode 7. Wow,
We made it.
we made it. We are inching closer to the 12 episode mark. Season 1 will be in the bag pretty soon. Thank you all for participating and joining us on this journey. We have truly appreciated it. And we hope you are finding stream value, all of the wonderful things out of it. Yeah, hope you all enjoyed our Laugh Out Loud episode 6, which was the halfway point where we shared our perspective on how do you live in this chaotic world with some, a little dose of laughter and humor. Yeah. So what's been up with you? I know we took a slight little break. Yeah, to focus on mental health and our well-being and all of those fun things.
We needed to rest. Rest, sir. Man,
rest is important.
Sirs, everyone, it's whatever. We needed to rest. And so should you. Do not make yourself do something you don't want to do. And we were trying to force things that shouldn't be forced. So we slept.
Exactly.
But everything's good. I mean, we're back. We're in episode 7. We just finished the Laugh Out Loud where you told us how you almost died. That was the story. We shared about what was the name of it? Dyscopy? Syncope? I don't remember.
Well, that's us laughing syncope by fainting by laughing or laughing by fainting, however it goes. But the study of laughter was, I forget the term. We'll have to put that in the episode because the words are not wording for me, right?
Words are not wording. It's okay. We're back. So this is going to be a whole natural episode. We're going to be in the natural.
Exactly.
Something that even if you're angry, you get happy because there's like things that go to your brain and then you get happy. So smile.
Yeah. Smile.
Even if you don't want to. Sometimes I do that when I'm in the store. Girl, you are driving me crazy. Can you give me my food, please?
So no, on today's episode, we're looking forward to discussing community and in particular confronting the loneliness epidemic and really sort of centering on understanding what community means for us, in particular for I Am Just Gaying, as building community is a central purpose of our podcast. So this episode is truly important from that aspect. A few weeks ago, well, not a few weeks ago at this point, several months ago, the former Surgeon General Vivek Murthy penned his parting prescription for America. This is typically a thing that outgoing Surgeon Generals do as they leave their posts. And in particular, this particular prescription for America focuses on loneliness and through his eyes as a public health crisis. And so we'll be diving into the aspects of that article, his parting words for America, and really just talking about the purpose of what this podcast is about, which is central to, everything that we're trying to do and trying to bring into the ether, which is building community and building spaces for people like us and people who are not like us, because community is essential to our daily lives. So let's dive right in. And I think, first is, what does community mean to you?
Community to me means family, friends, networking, AA. My AA stuff is also part of my community. All of that, all of those encompass my community. Like it's a combination. I really don't really feel like my Instagram stuff or Facebook stuff is my community. I feel like that belongs to the world and it doesn't belong to me. podcasting, my this. I feel like I want to build that right now with the podcast, but I feel like sometimes that belongs to the world and is very expensive. So, but all those other things, what about you? What's community for you?
Yeah, no. First of all, I just want to pick up on what you said around, the community of social media and sort of that truly not being the full representation of you. And yes, it's a part of you, but it's not you. And I mean, that's an important piece to recognize, as actually Vivek in his parting words describes that, and how, us being in this world where we rely heavily on social media, the digital realm, has really caused in many ways for us to lose sense of community, that face-to-face, human-to-human connection. I mean, I often say it a lot, is like, we're humans having a human experience. And when you add the digital piece, it takes away from that human experience. So yeah, I just wanted to call that out. But for me, I define community by, the connections and the relationships and the interests, the shared interests, the shared values that I have with others. So community could be, starting with self. Like, I have community with self. I mean, it sounds like I'm maybe this like schizophrenic person with multiple personalities, but truly being with self, I think for me is the first start to building community, because when I'm with self and can reflect on what I am interested in and what makes me happy, that then allows me to go out and make those human to human connections. And so here recently, community for me has meant reconnecting with family. So that's certainly in some people's spaces an inherent community. Certainly not everyone. And I do recognize that it is a privilege that I have that as a community. Another community is community that I have personally curated. So through associates and friends, and building on that and sustaining that is community. There's also community in the spaces that I go to. So, as a whiskey connoisseur, checking out speakeasies and things like that is part of different communities that I'm involved in. So community for me can be lots of things. I think here lately, it's been about those intimate social connections. So building community with a small collective of friends and supporting each other, cheering each other on, being there for each other. So, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like, I mean, again, it's a combination of so many things that you can't just encompass it into one thing. And I do think that I do appreciate you saying that you do have to commune with yourself first before you could share yourself with others. And I think that that's, what you were thinking, like, hey, I got to be good with me before I can be good with other people. And that's very me. Sometimes I take like me days where I'm not with anybody but just myself, because
Girl, that is
I need that. I don't want to
right.
talk to nobody. I want to be with nobody. I don't answer the phone. It's my me day. I do whatever I want with myself, whatever it is.
Exactly. And I literally, had one of those moments the other day. Like, it was a me moment, and like literally took myself out on a date with myself and enjoyed myself. And yeah, I lean heavily
You
into
really haven't been on my me day.
those me moments. I think you know that about me. I
Yes,
can get
I do
lost in
know.
self.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, get out. Let's go. We're going to the club.
All right.
But I love
Yeah.
being in my house. I'm like, no, let's go.
Exactly. So yeah, and of course, without saying that, the LGBT plus Q community is definitely a community in itself, and in all the facets that brings. There's also, a professional community that I'm a part of and you're a part of. So yeah, there is a diversity of what community means. So what about from like your origin or your heritage?
My Colombian community,
Yes, exactly.
my
Tell
Colombianness,
us.
my Colombianness, my Guatemalaness. You mean oh, this is my community. Let me tell you about my community. Today I had a whole sick. So my mom called my cousin. My cousin called my aunt. They're in Colombia, by the way. I'm just like, my cousin called all my other cousins. They put my shit on the group chat.
Not the group chat.
The group chat. You know how many cousins, uncles, nephews? There's like 75 people in that group chat. You know what they're doing? They're sending me my little remedios, my little remedies. You meet those crazy people? I fucking love them. I love them. Two of my aunts call me like, listen, this is what you gotta do. Drink the saliva every
Right.
night with the tea and the ginger and the lemon and the guapanela. And I was like, Tia, I have antibiotics. No, no antibiotics.
But no, like seriously, all jokes aside, like what about your Colombianness has in particular the community of being Colombian, how has that shown up and
It's
or
that in
shaped your
itself.
life?
I think that is what being Colombian is about because we're also interconnected as a family in our country that we cannot separate from each other. So
Mm,
like it's that interconnection that I have with Colombian people that there's like cousins and uncles and nephews and aunts and this and that and everybody knows each other and that's like really a big thing part of it. Like in our families, our grandparents, our grandfathers, our grandmothers, we all live in the house together and it's a normal thing.
mm-hmm.
We do not like go out and move out in the world. No, 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 no. You move out when you get married. Like besides that, all your family knows your business. My mom, they don't know, my mom will tell them anyways. So in
Right.
that in itself is this big Colombian thing about me that is like these roots that I have that are very important to me that also make me who I am. I was talking about that today with somebody about, listen, I'm glad your child is, he's like, oh, my child's un indio. In an indio is like a bad connotation for a Hispanic. But he's like, but my
Mm,
child is un indio. And I'm like, you know what? I'm un campesino. I'm a farm worker. But in back Colombian, not Colombian, but in the Hispanic world and in Latinx world, being
mhm.
campesino and being or being un indio is a bad connotation. But when you take it from a different point of view, from your roots and your background, to me, call me a campesino because you're right. My family are bean pickers. And that is the reason you have your coffee at Starbucks, bro. So call me a campesino because I'm super proud. So and those roots are very Colombian. That's a Colombian thing. That's very, of course, soccer. Cool. I mean, I am not a soccer person, but my whole family is. But my mom goes crazy during the World Cup. We go to soccer parties and all the bro. Colombians don't play with Colombia. You know what they did to the American arena here? The Colombians when during the
Yeah.
cup they ravaged. They they decided that they didn't need tickets and you just went in.
They created the space that
Yeah,
they wanted.
they said this whole area outside, even outside of the stadium, belongs to the Colombians. So we're all going.
Exactly. I love
That's
that. No,
that's
but
Colombia.
that is so powerful though, and it's a testament to like how powerful what you can be when you come together as a collective,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's one of the reasons why we wanted to have this conversation is there is power in being connected, interconnected, in working together, leaning on each other together. So yeah, no, that is very powerful. And in many ways unique to like my lived experience or unique from, I should say, my lived experience. I mean, as someone as Black or African American, whichever one, whatever, like your telling of everyone is in your business, that is not a thing in, my Black experience. Everyone is not in the business. In fact, they're like, "Mm, keep that over there. I don't need I don't need to know." But there are some aspects of like, supporting one another. So it's a interesting dichotomy. Like on one end, it's like they don't want to be in your business, but they're there to support you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Um,
That totally
I
makes sense.
guess I guess the difference is like it's not being offered to like just instantly be in your business. Like as you were saying, like you had 75 people in the WhatsApp chat. Like that's not a thing over here. So yeah, so it's an interest. And I think that's also what has made this friendship unique, is that balance, or the yin and yang of, the very beginning of our friendship, we had to figure that out because, as I was saying earlier, I am very much into my business is my business, time is my time.
You know, give me.
Exactly, exactly. But I think it not I think I know it worked out for us, and continue to work out for us because there's an equal balance, and part of community is you finding the space to safely practice things like vulnerability, practice things such as sharing, practice, the letting people know that, hey, everything is not okay. I need help, or let's talk about this. And so that is what has been great
Yeah,
about
I think we
this
had a lot
friendship.
of comfort pieces conversations in our relationship
Absolutely.
when I was
Right.
like, you need to open up to me. And you're like,
Right. And again, that goes back to just my experience, my blackness, and the way that my family has been is just, that is just not a part of this particular culture over here. I will say there is a shift, I guess, as my generation becomes the elder generation, so to speak. We I do see the trappings of that changing, like making an extreme shift.
okay,
And
that's good.
it's beautiful to witness. And also, I'll say, like, even the elders currently, I think by the influence of my generation, is starting to realize, like, let's make the shift. Let's lean into this a bit more. I mean, like, my family, like, we do quarterly, like, get-togethers. So we're doing things outside of, why typical families should get together, which is unique. And not a lot of people experience that. So no, I love that for the both of us.
Right.
Yeah, so digging deeper into, Vivek Murthy's, the former Surgeon General's parting prescription for America, and with his focus on loneliness, this sort of idea of getting back to sort of the roots of connecting and, like, knowing your neighbor and just being in community or and communing with others is so key. And I think the absence of that, like, if you all go out and dig deeper and read the article, the absence of that has now become the reflection of our current moment, unfortunately, in America, because we have basically ostracized ourselves or separated ourselves in such a way that, you see the polarization of topics and the villainization of people. Why? Because you're not connected to people is so, I guess, where we are in this current moment. So, you know for me, it's critical that, like, we practice, or that I practice this, I should say, uh, especially right now more than ever. So yeah, what about you? What was kind of some of the a takeaway or takeaways that you got from?
You know what I got from it? Like, was really, like, it really stood out to me. That whole thing about, like, younger kids or, like, just the new generation not having, like goals or aspirations.
Mm,
Like, that really, it just, like, stood out for me. Like, why is this new generation not, like, so driven? You know what I mean? Or
right,
maybe for whatever however they should be driven, but they're not driven. It's like you got to push this new
right,
generation.
yeah, yeah, and in particular, he was discussing, how currently a lot of people are focused on success, fame, and sort of missing out on how purpose, service, and relationships are the things that actually matter and that we should value. Like, for me, one of the things that stood out was this, what he called the triad of fulfillment, and that's literally like the elements of what he considers to be community, and that's, again, relationships, service, and purpose. And so he talks about, like, when it's combined and it comes together as a force, if you will, it is basically the core virtue of what we know as And then he talks about it as being an ecosystem. And, anything about an ecosystem is, support one another to be able to grow and thrive in sort of in that space. And sort of this triad he describes, like also things being important, such as the courage. So like courage to speak up and be vulnerable, to share the most sort of sensitive sides of yourself is important. And that sort of ties to the whole relationship piece of the triad. And then the next is like around service and kindness. So just being kind to others and also kind to yourself is really important. And then the last piece of the triad is around the purpose. And that's where things like generosity comes into play and grace comes into play and hope. So yeah, that's kind of one of the things that I walked away with of like, wow, this is very interesting and insightful. And for me has given me like sort of a roadmap to like truly try to practice these things, in particular grace. Like I have been on this seeming like perpetual journey to first give myself grace, but also to give others grace as well. So I'm going to print this out to just be a reminder for myself to continue to practice and show up in this way.
Yeah, that's good. Grace. I'm not there yet. And I am not on that journey. I am in the journey of you get what you get, bro. Do not come for me. That is my journey right now. And you do not get grace from me if you're a whole stupid. So that is the journey I'm on. I'm gonna be in that journey for 4 years. Until this one leaves the presidency, I'll be on that journey. Because if you're a whole stupid, you're gonna get a whole answer from me. And no grace.
No, I certainly get it. So yeah, let's switch gears a bit and sort of talk about like I know what your vision for the podcast was, but share that with, the listeners, the audience, the future audience. Like what was your vision when you said,
What was my
I'm
vision?
going to grab my friend, we're going to do this thing together? Because I don't know if we shared this, but you originally started this podcast solo, like on your own. And at some point you made the shift and we're here now. So what is the reason why we're here now? And
We're here now because we're building community. That is the main sole purpose of I Am Just Gay came out of fruition from my comedy, from my struggles as a gay Hispanic man, maybe from even my struggles as a gay Hispanic man that dated brown and black men also. So I was like having both of these worlds collide all the time. And I never saw nobody like me. There is nobody like me. I don't see them. I don't see them on TV. I don't see them in the news. I don't see them talking. I don't see them giving their opinion. I don't see them. But you know what? If you can't see it, be it.
Exactly.
And the podcast came from that. Even before that, years ago, me and you had already talked about a podcast. Me and you had been talking about working together. Me and you had talking about like living, like being in each other's lives, being the CEOs of something and da da da. So, and then all these other, me and you had already planned. This has already been preordained.
Right. We planted the seed years ago. Hence the ecosystem. It's like we continue to do the work and now this thing is blossoming, it's taking off, and we're enjoying it, and hopefully the listeners are enjoying it as well.
People that listen to us. And for you, I'm very grateful for you honestly taking on this challenge because you have a whole lot of things going on in your life as well. So just for you to tell me I'm ready, literally, like the podcast had some depth to it, honestly, because I wasn't in the mind space. So, but I wanted to start it again because I thought it had legs.
Yeah. And no, and it's because of that purpose of why it was easy for me to say yes, because, part of my life value is being into service of others. I literally was in an interview the other day and the interviewer asked me, tell me something about how you show up that I wouldn't find on your resume. And the response literally was, I lead with heart. Like, not only in my professional life, but also in my personal life, that is who I am. And that's part of just my upbringing. Like, my mom, like, heart.
Your your mom is a heart. She's like a
Exactly.
walking. She should be like a walking heart.
Exactly. So because I lead with heart and the understanding of what your purpose that you wanted to get out of this is why I'm like, yeah, heck yeah, I'll lean into this, because ultimately that's what I would like to see, is giving people or empowering people to show up in this world however they would like to show up in this world. And I think that is one aspect of what this podcast can give and is giving. Also, to what you said earlier, to be what you don't see. Like, I think I was describing to you earlier, like, you don't see this. Conversations of a Black gay man in conversation with an Hispanic gay man. Like, yeah, you might see it, but to intentionally curate this in this medium is joy to me. And so I think there's power in that. The possibilities are endless because of that. Tying it back to the community, I feel like if our cultures actually understood the power of that, knowing that we are all in the same struggle, but if we actually combine forces, I'm
Like
thinking
the
of like,
Colombians. Like the Colombians.
exactly. Just
We can go.
imagine the power if we all combine forces. And I'm calling on my other brown people. Like, if we all combine forces and fought back, just wow. And so that is my hope of
I wish we
is
weren't so busy, like in our own like worlds. Like sometimes I think people are so busy in this.
they're siloed. They
Yeah,
become siloed. Yeah. And again, that's what I see as a vision for this podcast, is to remove the silos and create space for people to understand that there is power in stepping outside of your silo. Now, let's just be real, because I show up in this way at times. Like, there are times where sometimes you need to be in, starting with self. Sometimes you need to be in community with self. Sometimes you need to be in community with people who look like you only.
right. No,
So
trust me.
we're definitely not saying like that, but there's also times where, more than others, you need to just be in community in general, which I think
Listen,
certainly
Black
could.
people sometimes
Yeah,
need to be with Black people and protest with Black people, and sometimes Hispanic people need to protest with Hispanic people, and it'll be us
exactly,
Hispanic people because we need to show face. And
exactly,
there are times where we both should show up for each other, especially
exactly.
when we're killing each other sometimes. Like, show up for each other. But, like, I think it's important. It's important to, and me and you are if you don't see it, be it. We are the people that are talking to each other about, like, we're not, listen, like you just said, I come from a completely way of living. It's nothing like you. And we're here 20 years into a friendship.
Exactly.
You don't gotta be like this other person. You just gotta love them.
That part right there. So yeah, so I think, speaking of love, I think that's a good way to sort of wrap us up with our queer moment of joy. For me this week, my queer moment of joy is this small community that I have been curating thanks to a collective of friends called Supper Sundays, where it's a group of queer individuals. We're getting together to be in community with each other, to support each other on Sundays over dinner and conversation. And it has brought so much joy to my life. So that is my queer moment of joy this week. What about yourself?
Queer moment of joy, Paula's Kitchen Mission, the true dear to my heart. We feed the homeless. Everybody should eat is our motto. Everybody deserves a meal, no matter where you're at in life. We were able to feed 40 homeless people on Wednesday and provide them with like shelter and water and things. So Paula's Kitchen mission is my joy, my heart, the reason I do things, even though I'm tired. And I was tired this week. I woke up at 6 in the morning, made sandwiches, and took them to Fort Lauderdale, an hour away from where I live. So what? Yes, yes.
No,
And I was
that's awesome.
tired, and I had to go to work after. But when I got there, I knew that that was it. That is why I did it. And that's actually why I do everything in my life right now. There's a purpose, and there's many purposes. So I think that that's what we all say. My life is so purpose driven. There's no room for anything else to come in because I'm filled with purpose. And when you're filled with purpose, everything that's bad for you goes like this.
Right.
People should not have purpose. Purpose is me feeding the homeless, me helping another alcoholic, me being a good friend and a good son, and I have purpose.
Well, that's awesome. So yeah, with that, we have reached the end of episode 7. Again, thank you all for listening. Remember to like, share, repost, follow us on all the socials. I am just gaying. Subscribe.
TikTok, I'm just gaying. Instagram,
Yep.
I'm just gaying. X, I'm just gaying.
On
What other
YouTube.
YouTube, I'm just gaying. Facebook, I'm just gaying. I'm just gaying. I'm just gaying. I'm just
I am just gaying everywhere.
everywhere.
So yeah, we come to a close. Again, thank you all for listening. We appreciate you and protect your joy and peace. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's it for today's episode of I'm Just Gaying. Thank you so much for tuning in and sharing this space with us.
And if you love what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with your favorite friends. It keeps the conversation going.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok for now, because we don't know where it's going, and Twitter, also known as X, at I'm Just Gaying, for behind-the-scenes moments, episode updates, and more queer joy.
And until next time, remember to live authentically, love unapologetically, and always celebrate queer joy.
Because we're just gaying, and so are you.